Looks to me like Coach Fisher is ready. His first interview since this loss to Florida Gulf Coast, and he is back on the Scott and BR Show on the Mighty 1090. Good afternoon, Coach.
Gentlemen, how you doing?
We're doing really well. Where are you heading?
Well, I'm just coming on the bypass to head home. I'm on the 805, getting ready to head to the 5.
All right, very good, Coach. Thanks for being with us. Do appreciate it. Be safe on those roads. Give us a traffic update if you don't mind.
Well, it's pretty smooth right now. If you hear a crash and no sound from me, you know there's problems.
Okay, let's make sure that does not happen.
Right.
I'm with you there.
Coach, you've been in the NCAA tournament many, many times in your coaching career. And as we all know, the beauty of this tournament is that there will be a Cinderella team, but you hope that it's never you on the receiving end of it. What was it like after this game knowing that history was made and unfortunately it came at your expense?
To be honest with you, Scott, it never crossed my mind that history was made. A 15 seed is one that's not been to the Sweet 16. I do know that. But that was the furthest thing from my mind. On my mind was, it's over. We're not going to play again. We're not going to be able to practice, prepare, and head to Texas to play someone in the Sweet 16. And when it ends very dramatically and traumatically for that losing team, because you never think about losing. You always expect to win. And obviously we didn't win. And so it was difficult for everybody, including the coaches.
Coach, anything Florida Gulf Coast did that surprised you, that shocked you?
No, not really, to be honest with you. I watched as they beat Georgetown and marveled at how well they played and the confidence that they played with. We talked to various people, including Miami of Florida, who beat them, and Iowa State, who they had a very close game with at Iowa State, and Duke, and to get a little flavor. So we knew that they were a good team. They were a hot team coming in. They had to win their conference tournament, and it was on Mercer's floor, and they won. So they were on a bit of a hot streak coming in. They played a little bit in the Georgetown game like our game, where it was Georgetown was 31-31, and they went on a 21-2 run. Our score was 54-52 with 11 and change, and they went on a 19-0 or 17-0 or 19-2 run on us. And when you watch it from afar, you say, well, do something. And we tried and we couldn't. So to their credit, they were the better team that day.
Coach, the San Diego State basketball team prided itself on being a great defensive team. When a team goes on this run like you're talking about, is it just purely momentum? Is it the crowd getting behind them and all of a sudden you're on that floor and you feel like everybody's against us? I mean, I'm just wondering, for a team that was so good defensively all year long, what is your coaching analysis as to what happened?
I think it was a little bit of everything what you just described. Oftentimes when a team gets on a bit of a run, and we have keys to success, and the first two keys that we had were, 1, transition, 2, runs. And we talk very much about runs, and that usually wins games, and it is 1-2 for Florida Gulf Coast. When they scored 6 or 8 straight, we had some good shots that we missed. I think then that led to, that led a little bit to some quicker shots that probably shouldn't have been taken. We had 5 first-half turnovers, 12 second-half turnovers. We had 4 turnovers in their run, which led to runouts and dunks, and that usually is the story when a team has that kind of a spurt on you. It's a cause and effect. They cause it, and you help them with their cause a little bit, and we did all of that.
And it takes you out of your game.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But I think, Coach, and we're talking to Coach Steve Fisher, his first interview since the loss to Florida Gulf Coast, right here on the Mighty 1090. Coach, I feel like they started this run, and on the offensive end, and I haven't gone back and watched the game a second time, but as I recall, I feel like shots just started getting fired up, and in particular, 3-point shots. And maybe I'm wrong. Maybe it's just what I recall of the game, but I feel like it sort of encapsulated the entire season, which was, and we talked about it over and over again, the shooting percentage was very low down the stretch, in particular in games lost on the road, close games. What did you think as guys were bombing away but nothing was dropping?
I think, Scott, you're a little bit wrong. We all remember, and I was thinking the same thing, but I think you're a little bit wrong in terms of the way it was caused. I believe the first couple of shots that we took, we did attack the rim and we missed some shots. We missed a couple of good open threes. And then we took a couple of quick threes, as I said earlier, that probably shouldn't have been taken. We were 8 for 24, maybe 23, 24, or 25, which is not a great percentage. 8 is a pretty good number to make, but we had a handful that probably were ill-timed to take. More important than the turnovers, than the missed threes, I do believe were the turnovers that led to runouts and dunks, and that was a team that energized themselves, and the crowd got energized when they scored off of a dunk, and they would wag their tongue and strut down the floor, and they had everyone except the red and black Aztec people who in the building. They had everybody else cheering for them, the Creighton and the Duke fans, that this human nature, you cheer for the team that is perceived to be the underdog, and it turned into a home game for them.
Right. Well, let me ask you quickly, Coach, about that. San Diego State, over the last 4 years, as they've made it into the NCAA tournament, was always really, I mean, again, a perception here, so tell me if I'm wrong, but San Diego State's the underdog, right? I mean, San Diego State is the building program. It's and even at the best year with only the 3 losses and the 30-plus wins, still San Diego State was this is new to the program. This was the first time I could recall where all of a sudden San Diego State gets put in the position of, wait a second, how did we become the big bad Aztecs?
Right.
And they're the little teeny tiny Cinderella team. Is there anything to that from an emotional standpoint where the roles are reversed?
We've been the underdog with the exception of the 34-3 team when I believe we were a 2 or 3 seed. And I think our kids felt pressure as a 2 or 3 seed when they played Northern Colorado in that first game. Much was made of, will this season be viewed as a success? We'd only lost to one team, BYU, and we'd won 32 games. We were 32-2, and people were saying, well, they have to win in order for it to be a success. I think our kids played a little tight in that first game. Then we played a terrific Temple team in game 2. Khalif Wyatt, I don't know if you saw any of their game against Indiana. He was the third banana on that team, and he's an NBA player. Great double overtime win. And then we lose to Connecticut, who was the 3 seed, I believe, in an unbelievable game that we could have won. So, but other than that, every year we've played, every game we've played, we either have been a slight underdog or a prohibitive underdog. And I think you play maybe a little different if you're the underdog, although, we knew we were going to have a good game against Oklahoma, a 7-10 game, and they were playing well, and we won a big game. That was a huge win for us. I don't think, really, to be honest with you, Scott and BR, that pressure from us being a 7 seed, playing a 15 seed, had any impact on the outcome of this game.
All right, Coach Steve Fisher with us this afternoon. Coach, I'm curious to know what you think today. Your opinion might change by tomorrow. Who knows? What do you think is going to happen with Jamal Franklin?
I really don't know. We had a team meeting this afternoon. I talked about what was important right now, and that's to refocus academics. We've missed a lot of class as a result of the conference tournament and the NCAA tournament. We go on spring break next week, so we emphasize the importance of getting back getting caught up, doing what you need to do academically. When we come back on that Monday of the national championship day, we'll meet again and get ourselves ready to start with the returnees. And I met briefly with Chase Tapley and Jamal afterwards, one-on-one. And Jamal and I talked. I have resubmitted with the NBA people to try to get a feel, a more of a legitimate feel, rather than somebody that tells you what you want to hear, about where possibly Jamal could go. I don't think we'll know anything on that until sometime after the 8th, after the national championship game. And then I think Jamal and his mom will make their decision. I'll give them my input, but they'll make their decision. And I don't know. I don't know what he intends to do. I know that he loves where he is, loves his teammates, and is bent on getting a degree. I also know that he has a burning desire to play in the NBA. So we'll see what happens. I don't want to speculate too far down the road, and that's got to be Jamal's call. I do believe I'll have some input.
Coach, what was it like to meet with Tapley privately for a guy who's been to 4 straight NCAA tournaments, for a guy who's been such a warrior, for a guy that you've been, by all accounts, a father figure to beyond just a coach? What was that meeting like?
Chase and I have talked quite a bit lately, and when we got home, and it was just a bizarre plane trip home.
Why is that?
I don't know if you heard about that. Well, the NCAA and their infinite wisdom, you have to go through their travel people to schedule. So we go through. So they said if you win, you'll go early Monday morning. If you lose, you go right after your game. So we're on the plane at 10:15 East Coast time, 7:15 our time. We landed at 6:20 a.m. in San Diego. We sat, took an hour and a half to get some machine that we've never heard of that said needed to help start the engine. We landed in San Antonio. They said to refuel, but my evil mind says the only reason we landed was to have a crew change because the crew they exceeded their maximum hours. They probably put a little fuel in. We had, again, the same problem to get the plane started.
Jeez.
And we had an 11-hour venture to get back to San Diego, which did not make anybody happy, especially after you lose a game.
Right.
So that, in a nutshell, was our trip home.
Right, but you were saying you talked to Chase.
When we got off the plane, Chase, we're all waiting for luggage, and Chase came over and gave me a big hug and said, Coach, I hate to leave. I love you guys. I love this program. And I said, well, we love you too. You have been a huge part of why this program is where it is. You're the only guy, 4 straight NCAA tournaments. You've done everything and then some that we've asked. We are going to be there for you when you need us. Your number one job right now, this next week, get back academically. I'll help you in any way I can with all the bouncing balls. Chase is going to go, I think it's a week after the national championship. That week, he got invited to Portsmouth, which is a huge senior-only event. No underclassmen can go to it. And it's an exposure event, so I'm excited for him on that. I'm trying to help him get in the All-Star game played on Final Four weekend to get him a little more exposure. But Chase needs to do what he can do right now academically, get in that weight room, still get out on that court, because he's got lots going for him over the next few weeks.
So a professional basketball career, be it the NBA or overseas, is in his future, in your opinion?
He wants to play. He wants to play and see if he can make some money playing. I think right now Chase Tapley's not going to be drafted. But strange things happen. So we'll see how it goes in Portsmouth. He'll play someplace because he's a talented player. He knows how to play, and he's learned how to do more than just score the basketball. So I think he's got a future to play. It might be over in Europe, but there's nothing wrong with doing that either.
Sounds like a lot of fun to me. 5:20 in the afternoon on Scott and BR on the Mighty 1090. Coach Fisher's with us. Coach, we've taken a lot of your time, but before you go, we do want to ask you about this. Needless to say, there were a lot of emotional fans yesterday, and some of them called in and expressed an opinion that perhaps you had taken this program as far as you could take it, and maybe it was time for San Diego State to consider a different coach. And for me, I feel like we've had this conversation, that expectations have changed. What do you think about people who have that opinion, knowing, of course, that all of this winning has changed the way they view your program?
Scott, I think expectations, no matter where you are, when you have success, they rise. They rise exponentially, and that's the nature of what we do, and that's the beauty and the beast of what we do. I think probably, to be honest with you, and I don't want to sound anything other than what I believe, I think some of it is knee-jerk reaction with, when right after you lose. Some of it may be people that feel that way. I don't think that that's the case with most people. I'm at a stage in my life and career where I believe that the people that hire and fire at San Diego State like me, like the job I've done, like the way we've gone about doing it with the young people we brought in, and how we provided support for life after basketball, and how they come back and support their program long after they leave. That being said, I've been fired before, and never dreamed that would happen. Could it happen? Yeah. Will it happen? I don't think so. Should it happen? If you're asking me, absolutely not. But I can see the light at the end for me, but I do believe that it will be at my choosing over the next few years when it happens. And I want fans to be passionate. I want to be passionate and supportive. Don't forget, where we came from, but don't let that be an excuse for not getting where we all want to go. But we need 12,414 in that building, whether we're playing NCAA, whether we're playing NIT, no matter where we're playing. I watched last night with great interest. I'm good friends with Dave Rose at BYU. I watched BYU play Mercer, the team from Atlantic Sun.
That Florida Gulf Coast beat.
Right. And I marveled. The Marriott Center was packed with 20-some-odd thousand people supporting the team that were just like us 2 years ago, 34-3, with great expectations. But those fans were there supporting their team. I do believe that's what the vast majority of the San Diego State Aztec fans are about. They're proud. They want more, and there's nothing wrong with that. They're immensely disappointed when they lose. Nobody more disappointed than the coaches, their families, the players, and their families. So that, and with it would be, I guess, my sermon. I talked longer than you needed me to talk on how I feel about where we are in the state of the program.
No.
I was disappointed. I was angry. I'm still disappointed. And you lose out last when it takes longer to get over it and move forward. But eventually everybody has to.
Is it harder to lose to a Florida Gulf Coast who's a 15 versus a name brand school like a Connecticut, who, by the way, went on to win the national championship that year? Is it harder when you're expected to win and you think, hey, we're going to win this game, we're going to go to the Sweet 16, and you lose to a school that's an upstart like these guys?
I would say it is, to be honest with you. You lose that game and you say, let's play 2 out of 3. Right. And it's condescending for me to say, I still think we're the better team. I do believe wholeheartedly Georgetown was a better team. But that's what makes it the most spectacular 3 or 4 weeks in sport history. Any sport, doesn't matter what it is, this captivates the nation for 3 to 4 weeks, and everybody wants to see somebody do what Florida Gulf Coast did. You just don't want them to do it to you if you're that team that has to play them. Right. But they did it to Georgetown, and they did it to us. So you tip your hat to them. But it would have been easier, to be honest with you, if we'd have lost the game to a Georgetown as opposed to this one. But none of them would have been easy. When you lose that last game, it's hard.
Coach, we've taken up too much of your time. When we talk next, we'll talk about what the team will look like next year, and hopefully we can talk several times during this tournament as we go from Sweet 16 to Final Four. Coach, a pleasure. Another terrific year, even though it ended in a disappointment. We sincerely appreciate your time, and we congratulate you on all the great work you're doing.
My pleasure, man. I appreciate you guys having me on, and I heard only the last 30 seconds of the Malcolm Thomas interview, but we're so proud of what he's doing and has done, and I just marveled at how eloquent and how well he was able to express to you guys what he's doing now. And Malcolm is truly one of the treasures that we've had the privilege to coach, and he cheers for us like crazy, and we cheer for him no matter where he is. So it was neat to hear him on with you, although I wish I had heard the whole interview.
Well, I'll tell you what, his Chicago Bulls have the Miami Heat tomorrow. So we encouraged him to try and score 50 points in that game so we can get like a 5-year, $50 million contract instead of these 10-day deals.
That. He said he's going to get 50 blocks if he got in and maybe have to hire you as his agent. So I heard that part. I heard the tail. I heard the last part.
Coach, a pleasure. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Steve.
Okay, Scott, BR. Thanks for having me on.
You bet.